Polish people are really good at being friends. My friends in the UK, they didn't understand sometimes the true definition of friendship. The goalpost of the left has shifted so far left because people in the UK are scared to express themselves. There were a lot of Polish girls in the UK that said, no, I don't date white guys. Ugh, Polish boys are disgusting. Black boys only.
All right, what's up everybody? I am here with my friend Daniel.
I grew up in the UK. I live in Poland. I'm also Polish. I was born in the States. It's a bit of a crazy story. I teach English.
He has a very big Instagram page with 1.1 million, correct? And he just started on YouTube. It's English with Daniel, but in Polish. And your channel is blowing up right now, man. It's doing super well. I think there's a lot of Polish people in the UK that are thinking about coming back. And I wanted to ask you why you decided to make the move.
A lot of people say that to me. Like, why did you come back? I don't think I came back.
Yes.
I just came.
I think the way that I see it is that if you're Polish, no matter where you were born, you're always going to be Polish. Because it's so niche, it's so unique. I'm Chinese, right? But my parents are born in the Philippines, so we're Chinese Filipino. There's 1.4 billion of us. There's only like 37 million in Poland and maybe 10 million overseas. And it's a very niche language. And the fact that you can speak Polish as well, I think also makes you more connected with the country.
That's big. There's a lot of people like my age right now and my generation, the story of immigrant parents who came to the UK, their kids aren't speaking Polish.
They don't.
Like barely.
Do they understand at least?
You know what? I think so a little bit, but they're not even bothering to speak it. And their parents are just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna speak to you in English at home. My parents always spoke to me in Polish, so I appreciate them for that. And I'm very grateful now being able to speak Polish. And my Polish is improving since I've come here and
100%.
constantly.
And your wife is Polish too?
My wife is Polish too.
Yeah.
Why did I come? Actually, you know, Gen Z, we live with our parents for a long ass time. So I was 20, I was still with my parents.
Yeah. So
in
your whole family moved here to Poland together?
My parents, yeah.
Okay. So they came back?
They came back, essentially. It was like their move, right? And I just came along for the ride.
And have you been much happier since you've gotten back?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Poland is nice now, man.
I think subjectively, I've always been quite a happy person. My life's just, I think, gone on a much better trajectory since I've come here.
Yes.
In multiple aspects, not only thinking of finances, but also family life too.
Yeah. I think you bring a very interesting thing to the table on social media because a lot of Polish people are, I don't want to say obsessed, but they're very fascinated by like US and then UK. And then the fact that you can speak English and Polish very fluently, I think gives you an edge.
Safety. It gets to a point, and you've said this before, Polish people take it for granted, right? But when I first came to Poland, walking around in like a park at night, for example, feeling so just comfortable.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, this is so good. In the UK, you just don't get that sense. It's kind of scary.
What do you think makes Poland so safe?
It's something we value, you know, and we set the tone for that. I think Polish people are quite good at setting the tone for their culture in the sense of like when people come here, even whether it's like tourists or they migrate here, they kind of see that, these Polish people are quite serious about like keeping their culture as it is and like protecting it. And I feel like people are a bit more scared to like disrespect the culture and like step out of line.
Yes.
Rather than they would be in a place like London, for example.
Yeah.
So I think we obviously value safety, but then again, who doesn't? I don't know if there's some like historical aspects to why it's like this, but probably also the way we've controlled like illegal migration too.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
And the policies that we've implemented and like kind of not allowing the EU to push us around and just accept a bunch of asylum seekers from we don't know where and we don't know what their name is or their history. Poland's the only place in Europe that hasn't had a terrorist attack.
Yeah, going back to race, but how much you think is because it's homogenous?
Yeah. Definitely. We just want to go about our day and like we're in Poland. I don't know. What's happening in the UK is wild with like the danger.
Yeah. What do you think about like what the government's doing, trying to control speech and then two-tier policing and all that stuff?
In the UK?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a new thing, right? Two-tier care, they're calling him. It's kind of dystopian, right? It's like 1984-esque. You almost like read the stories and you almost don't believe that could be true, but it is, right? You've got just people that are even online espousing views, opinions, and they're being deemed by someone as hateful, and the police are coming to your door,
And
whether it's
arresting you,
giving you
yeah.
a fine or even worse, arresting you,
Yes.
sending you to prison
Right.
for like a year or something.
I support Trump. I've openly said it on my channel. I don't like what he's saying about Ukraine right now. I don't like the way he's handling that. But I think it's funny that a lot of Europeans like to say that Trump is the next Hitler and he's a fascist, when there's a lot more fascist behavior going on in these European countries, right? In Germany, right? They're calling this far-right party, the AfD, far-right. But
Right.
I've heard her speak and I'm like, dude, this is like super sensible stuff. Closed borders, lower taxes, putting Germans first. And I'm like, this is all logical. Why are they saying this is far right, right? So, and this is why I really like Poland too, is that it seems like it's one of the only countries that they don't really give in to the emotional arguments. Oh, what about all these asylum seekers? They just want a better life. Poland's like, nah, we don't give a f. We're gonna protect our culture. We're safe. You gotta come in legally, no illegal immigration. And I love that. I think it's really good.
What it's like in England, people are genuinely afraid to speak out in the open
Yeah.
and share opinions that are now considered to be like extreme. The average Polish person doesn't realize the goalpost of the left has shifted so
much,
far left.
yeah.
A woman is anyone who identifies as a woman. Boys can be girls, girls can be boys, and it's like, don't assume my gender.
Yeah.
And that just went too far. And I often look at that as like a reference point, especially because Europe follows America, right? And like, especially like Poland, like.
Yes.
So whatever happens in America, Poland slowly like catches on
It's
to
so
that.
true. It's true. It's true. Yeah.
But what's dangerous is like, let's say America, with at least Trump coming in, I think one thing he's definitely done is kind of put a stop to the left goalpost going too far, like the extreme stuff. He's been saying common sense, right? But what's scary is if Poland's like 10 years behind, what if we just start entering this phase, right?
I don't think it's gonna happen because what unites Polish people together is your shared history, and the language, and you guys have a culture that you latch onto. So I don't think it's gonna change like America. America, I think people are so open because there's so many different cultures. You have to be tolerant of everybody.
Yes.
Nobody knows what to follow. However, nobody wants to be seen as a racist or a bad guy.
That's the
So
thing.
they're just like, yeah, sure, you can be a boy. I don't want to be intolerant. Oh yeah,
That's
I'm
the
not
thing.
racist at all. You can do whatever you want.
And that's the thing. Everyone is scared of being labeled, all
Exactly.
these like terms.
Yes.
And that's in the UK too. No, it's okay to have like an opinion or think something.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, let's say you do have some like really dumb views. You say them out loud, but then someone checks you and gives their opinion, and you reconsider, and you're like, oh, okay.
Totally.
But if you're not in like, the environment doesn't foster that free thought and free speech,
Yes.
you're never even going to correct your secret underlying views that you really do have. In fact, they might bubble up even more under the surface because people in the UK are scared to express themselves. Like you said, they don't want to be either sexist or racist or misogynist or this or that. And a lot of people hold back what they really thinking and what they really feel.
Do you think that there's been a really big impact, positive or negative, of all these refugees coming into the country?
Refugees? Probably a negative if we had to sum it up. I actually grew up in Slough. That's like a small town, just south west of London. A lot of Asians, like a strong Asian community, but not your kind.
Oh, like Viet or like where?
No, like when I say Asian, I mean like Pakistani, Indian.
Oh,
do you-
okay. South Asian.
They had a lot of money in the sense because they had already been there since, for example, for the 50s, right?
Yeah.
So they had had time to purchase property,
Right.
build up their businesses, and they're quite entrepreneurial, so like
Sure.
they do their thing, you know? The corner shops were owned by them, they owned a lot of the properties, they were driving around in a lot of the nice cars, so I guess in that sense, they were actually building something, right? And actually like contributing to the community in some way. The corner shop is like a cornerstone of British culture, so that's like a good
Right.
thing.
Yeah,
But
tiki
that-
masala is one of your national dishes now.
Yeah, exactly. But they also spoke really, really good English.
Yeah.
They spoke English just as your like white guy in the pub would.
Right.
They weren't the problem at all. It's like it's new people coming in, don't want to assimilate in the culture, don't
Yep.
even want to learn the language. Maybe they came in illegally, whether it's crime or anything. And now as well with like social isolation and people like kids being isolated and like social media, that's just kind of making it
Perpetuating
all
it.
worse, I think, too.
It might be a controversial thing, but do you think the Polish people in the UK are doing a lot of interracial mixing, which is causing to the language going away. So I grew up in the US, right? So race mixing is a lot more common now. It's quite accepted, right? But then you come back to Poland, which is notoriously kind of homogenous and quite racist to other races, to be honest. Because of the sense of pride for country and the culture and the language, I wonder if there's like a pressure to date within your own race. Because that definitely exists with Chinese people. Like, my parents are thankfully very liberal, but when I go back to the Philippines, my cousins can only marry Chinese or else they'll get disowned. So I wonder if there's a similar pressure in the Polish families as well.
So you're saying race mixing on a level where, let's say, a Polish woman gets with like a Jamaican guy, and the kid won't pick up the Polish language.
Yes.
That's what you mean. The race mixing is going to be happening now for the next generation, I think. But it hasn't really happened yet. It's going to be happening with people of my age.
Yeah. Here in Poland or in UK?
In the UK, for sure. There's definitely, like, in Poland, like a conservative viewpoint of like marrying within, let's say, not even the race, but like another Polish guy would be ideal.
Yes. Although I do have to say, East Asians are quite accepted here. And then I think as far as like other races go, we're probably the most acceptable other race to date, as opposed to maybe like Arabs or black people.
People say like Polish people are racist, and yeah, kind of they are, right? But from another side, we're really accepting too, in some sense, and like we're kind of like it's an interesting dichotomy.
I 100% know what you're talking about. The way that I see it is that Polish people are just protective of their culture. It's like you fit in or get out, which I totally get. I'm like, thank you. I think that's how it should be. I wish more countries acted like that. But then there's also a lot of a very vocal, I don't know if it's a minority, majority, that say that go home to your country. We don't want black people. We don't want these kind of people here. It's kind of a hard balance, but I think overall it is a good thing because Poland is very safe because of this. But I think it also means that a lot of Polish people are very close-minded. What do you think about that?
I don't think it's like toxically close-minded. I think as the world like opens up, and it already has, we're going to become more open-minded. Back to the race mixing. Me going to school with the people I did, it's very interesting because Polish girls, I didn't really see people of like my parents' generation, like my mother's age. I didn't see them race mixing a lot. My age group, there's a lot of race mixing there, especially in high school. Polish girls, they loved that
I've heard
BBC the most.
That's what I've also heard. But in the UK, right?
Yeah. Once they get infected by the culture, I think there was a study, someone told me that if you move to a new country before the age of like 14, you will pick up their culture. Whereas if it's after that, you'll keep the culture you had, right?
Right, yeah.
And some Polish girls, they really came to the UK and they like, let's say, assimilated, which is like successful, right?
Yeah, totally.
But unfortunately, we don't really have a very positive culture. Crime is like glorified and stuff, and like drug dealers are like the top of the social hierarchy, and like gangsters and stuff. Yeah. And Polish girls like that a lot, you know? And there were a lot of Polish girls, a lot.
In the UK?
In the UK, that said, word for word, no, I don't date white guys. That's disgusting, or especially Polish. Let's say, Polish boys are disgusting. Black boys only. So
this is an interesting thing because I've made a couple videos on my channel about foreign passport bros, black guys, who come to Poland thinking that they love black guys. And I made the point that I think that might be true in the UK, but it's definitely not true here in Poland. And you're just affirming that. But I think it comes down to, though, is it's a status thing. In every country that you go to, there are certain races that have higher status or lower status, correct? And I think in the West, because this is kind of in America too, black guys get more fetishized and are seen as more sexually attractive. Whereas here in Poland, for my black friends, they tell me that that does exist, but culturally, they get along the best with like Asian people. I think Asians and Slavs, we have a lot of history together.
Yeah, I think that's the missing piece of the puzzle, the status. I think what you just said right there. Exactly. Yeah, I think that's true. There's those same girls here in Poland, but you won't see them with a black guy. You'll see them with like a buff, big, muscly Polish dude with like tattoos and like a bald head, and he has a lot of money and he drives like a nice Mercedes and he's like kind of dangerous. He trains MMA. White guys were very insecure, man. And the obsession with penis size is crazy.
Yeah.
You're always going to be comparing to that BBC, and you're never going to live up to it.
That's crazy to me.
But as like a teenage kid, these are the thoughts you're having.
In the UK, I feel like the majority of the culture is dictated by the Jamaicans, right? Jamaicans and
You know
Nigerians.
what? I mean, the dominant dialect right now in London, it's MLE, Multicultural London English, influenced by like Jamaican patois.
Yeah,
So the Jamaican slang is just crazy. And the UK was also, apart from glorifying crime, I definitely think the ecosystem kind of I grew up in definitely over-sexualized, hyper-sexualized. You hit like 13, 14 and everyone's like, people are having sex. And when I've talked to people in Poland, that doesn't really start till like 17, 18, whereas we're already like experimenting and doing things at like 14 over there, and that's a dangerous age.
It's kind of the same in the US too, because all of our media is hypersexualized and all the popular TV shows are just about teenagers having sex.
Yeah, and the music's about that too. Like
totally.
And the UK music was about that too. So
yeah, and then I see a little bit of it in Poland, but just the culture here is generally a lot more reserved. Man, I can't believe we're talking about this, but Polish women are actually super, super sexual, but they're more low-key about it, and they're like more, I don't know if classy is the right word, but they hide it better. Whereas I think in the West, like the UK, I know exactly what you're talking about. UK girls are just kind of hoes.
you feel it, you know?
Do you think that UK culture promotes that?
Yeah.
The girls to be hoes?
Yeah.
Here in Poland, what is it like here?
In the university, all the girls seemed like pretty classy and reserved too. So it wasn't like there was no like 3 or 4 activity.
And most of the people here are in relationships, you know, like
That's
in uni.
true. That's like a big thing.
Yeah, and then if you meet a girl who's like 24, 25, she's probably been in 1 or 2 relationships, each like 2 or 3 years each.
And she's looking for the next one.
And she's looking for a relationship. But then in the UK, a girl who's 24, body count probably like 15, bro.
Yeah, probably 15 and probably like not looking for a relationship either.
Yeah.
You know, there's this weird thing that happens too in the UK where it's like they kind of want to be in a relationship. They don't want to give away their hoe card, right? For example, you know, winter comes around, or it feels more comfortable to be in a relationship, cozy up to someone a bit. Like, and even the social media will reflect this. As soon as summer starts coming around, you start getting the
hot girl summer.
Yo, hot girl summer coming. It's time to, you know, go crazy, and social media promotes it. So it's hella toxic.
Yes.
And I'm not glad I grew up in that, really. It could have been bad here too, though. So nowhere's perfect. So
yeah, exactly. I think Poland has different problems, but I really relate to what you're saying because in the US, it's the same. It's like super hypersexualized culture. But I also think the society that you're in influences your behavior. People will accuse me of like, I'm like a shapeshifter depending on what city or what country I'm in, right? I change my values and everything, but I'm like, but society influences your values, right? When I was in the US, it's super hypersexualized and I was also partaking in that behavior. Like university in the US is just a giant F-fest. Everybody's just banging left and right. But then coming here to Poland, seeing the culture value relationship a lot more, I'm like, I also want to.
And I totally agree with that.
Yes.
And I totally agree with that.
I wouldn't get married in the US, but I would get married here in Poland because the society kind of encourages you guys to stay together.
Yeah.
Doesn't encourage divorce. In the US, there's no upside to getting married, and then the woman has all the power. If she divorces you, she can take half your shit. It's not worth it, right?
It's not. Moving allows you to disconnect from your old, let's say, toxic environment, if it was, and allows you to completely find a new one in such a easier way than it would be trying to like cut off all your friends.
Yeah.
But they still call you and they still got your number.
Interesting
It's
point.
just easier to go somewhere else. No one really knows you, and the person you're trying to be, you just.
And you start over.
Yes. People from the UK are a bit weird, you know. Friendships are a bit weird in the UK. My friends in the UK, they were like, it's like they didn't understand sometimes the true definition of friendship. There's one story that stuck with me when we were walking home from school, and we're in a group, maybe 4, group of 5. And I stop. I quickly wanted to go to the shop to get some like water or something. In all friends I've had, and like in Poland, if you go to the shop, your friend's gonna stay outside or maybe come in with you and just wait for you, right?
Yeah.
Before you keep walking to wherever it is that you're walking. And I went to the shop to get like a drink or whatever. These guys just keep on walking as if like, we don't give a shit if like.
That's so weird.
It was the weirdest thing. It's
What?
like, it's like they couldn't actually care less if you catch up to them or not.
I think it was just the people you were around, because that sounds.
I think it was the people I was around, but a lot of this stuff is generational too. Polish people are really I think, good at being friends, and they
Yes,
like
they are.
their
They're very
values.
loyal,
They got
very
their
loyal.
strong values, you know.
How do you see your future here in Poland? Do you think you're going to be here forever, for a while?
I saw in a video you were saying that people who come from the beach life, they come to a place like Poland, they appreciate the four seasons, right?
Yes, yes,
And then
yes.
people like us who come from the four seasons and we got like a strong winter, we want to live that beach life. But then
Totally.
you said it gets old. Is that true?
After a year, yes.
Think it would? So we really love that sunshine, that beach life, and we wish we could do it a bit more, even for just the winter, you know?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Poland, winters, it's not as harsh as it used to be, and it's not the
Yeah.
harshest in the world, but it's still miserable. Because I'm not even talking about the temperature. It's miserable outside. It gets dark very early.
That's
but
the big
worst
one.
thing
Yeah.
is the air quality.
Yeah.
And Krakow, the fact that Krakow has such bad air quality is insane to me.
Yeah.
You know, you could look at any moment in time, like the live air quality index,
yeah.
and you can find Poland in the top 10 worst cities in the world, especially having a family now. That's the kind of thing that makes you like reconsider staying here long term. You're moving to Warsaw, right?
I am moving to Warsaw, yeah.
I'm considering that, especially with my career trajectory and what I'm doing. I think Warsaw would be a good move. I was born in the States, by the way, even though I grew up in England. I feel like I would like to experience life in the States. Being born there,
Right.
I'm curious. Because I barely remember anything. I didn't actually experience life there.
Yeah, I've thought about it too, actually, moving back to the States. I was talking about this with my friend. After Trump got elected, I'm like, it seems like the US is kind of in a good trajectory now. I still think overall life is better here in Poland, so I'm gonna be here for a while. But I've also floated around the idea of maybe moving back to US.
A lot of Polish people have this thing where they're always drawn back to the homeland. I don't know if I have that. Just because
Of
I
your
was
his-
born in the States.
It's the same
and
with me, bro.
And I
I
grew
know
up
what you
in
mean.
England.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe like the story I'm building now and the 5 years I've been here, maybe I will have that like once I leave. But I kind of have that with England a little. I see English people on holiday. I like these people.
Yeah, you miss them, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I miss them. And especially
yeah.
miss speaking English with them. But I do miss on a daily basis being able to speak English in just a casual way with other native speakers.
It's a part of yourself. Like we were talking about how you have different personalities in different languages. There's nothing like being able to communicate in your home language, right?
Yeah.
That's when you can really just relax and chill and truly be yourself. All right, so where can people find you, man?
If you're Polish speaking and you want to improve your English, you can definitely find me on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. It's all pretty much the same with my name and surname, Daniel Lalowicz, but my YouTube is Angielski z Danielem, English with Daniel.
And I'll put the links down below.
Appreciate that.
All right, thank you, bro.